welcome to Now We Know, where we revisit traumatic and delightful kids' pop culture of the 80s and 90s.
Yep, each episode we pick something impactful from our childhoods to look at through the jaded eyes of adulthood. I'm Kevin Wertheiser, and with me, in spirit and via Zoom, is Chris Tognati.
That's right. I'm Chris Tognati. You're looking at me. You're looking at me in beautiful, gorgeous color by Technicolor, not unlike the Looney Tunes cartoons of old.
Yep, we did, for the bonus episode, we did the Looney Tunes movie that many don't know was in theaters very recently, very briefly. And,
yes.
I mean, there are some theaters that's still in, I suppose, I'm sure. But that whet my appetite for more tunes, Looney. And so here we are with some of the oldies and goldies.
Well, since you mentioned it, this is as good a time as any to remind all of you who have been fans of the show for so long, your patronage of us is appreciated. It has never been more appreciated. But what would make you a truer patron than going over to patreon.com/nowweknow? We now have, we've completely revamped our product over there. Now, if you would like to subscribe for the cost of $5 per month, which, to be quite honest, this is really down to covering our operating fees here over the past several years at Now We Know Studios, you now will receive 2 subscriber bonus episodes per month, effectively turning this twice per month podcast, as it has been since its inception, into a weekly cast. And over there we do more new stuff, like this new Looney Tunes movie. We do a lot of those Disney quote-unquote live-action remakes. We've pretty much done all of those when they've presented themselves. We've done some Marvel stuff. We've also done some stuff we enjoyed, like that Dungeons & Dragons movie from a couple years back. So there's...
A couple years ago, we saw one thing we liked. Don't even worry about it. Sometimes we watch good things.
What was the most recent good thing we watched? I guess we both had a lightly positive opinion of this Looney Tunes movie.
Yeah.
Which is why we're so blessed to be doing Looney Tunes proper here on the show today. So, yes, Kevin, you said that you decided you wanted to do classic Looney Tunes because we did that subscriber episode on the day the Earth blew up.
Yes.
Is it safe to say that you also wanted to do it because you love the Looney Tunes? Because you yourself are loony for the tunes.
Of course. I am famously loony for the tunes. I mean, I don't know if that's famous. I think I had a personal relationship with Bugs, Daffy and the gang, but I don't think I talk about it too much. It felt like it was the air you breathed in the 80s, 90s, and presumably for the previous 50 years before that. It's a very popular thing, but has a very distinct sense of humor that I think still stands out today. And it just was one of those ones that was always in the back pocket, and so then felt like this was the time. Then weirdly, my friend DT, known on Twitch as DT from B-Town, he's doing a Super Nintendo countdown, and this very week he decided he was at the number that this Looney Tunes B-ball game was ranked for him. So it was very strange that happened like within a 2-week period. We did the new Looney Tunes thing. I had already decided to do these, and then he texted like, "Hey, are you seeing what I'm doing today?"
I actually watched the Looney Tunes B-ball stream that DT put on. My memory that it is a surprisingly fun game in short bursts was accurate, although it is pretty tedious to watch 2 people play like 10 consecutive games of it and get completely demolished in the first 8. They had to play like 6 or 7 games before they won one, and they only started winning when they took my advice to roll with the Marvin the Martian Yosemite Sam duo, because they're the 2 best 3-point shooters, and all they could do was rip threes and hope enough went in to win. So I accept DT's thank you for my role as assistant coach on the team.
Okay.
As much GM as assistant coach, I guess, if it's a roster matter.
That's true.
But I will note that your statement about how eerie this all is has overlooked the fact that I am also a Twitch streamer. You can check me out at Chris Togfer,
Yeah.
ChristopPeher on Twitch. And I was the first person to start this whole Looney Tunes thing by playing Bugs Bunny Rabbit Rampage.
That's not
Super
eerie.
Nintendo.
It's stuff we talk
It
about. It's not weird that because he made this list independent of any kind of thought. You're not going in an order. You're just going in whatever order. He's going from worst to best.
I'll tell you, it's a little eerie to me that I played that game and now I've had to do like 10 more Looney Tunes things since then. Every time I turn on my TV, it's more tunes. I didn't know DT was doing Looney Tunes B-Ball. I've played Rabbit Rampage, then we do the Looney Tunes movie. Yeah, so I've been I've been drunk on tunes lately. And then you came out and told me, "Hey, let's revisit our halcyon youths." Mm-hmm. You know, when we were growing up, you turn on Nickelodeon, and a huge amount of their programming was just old Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially the 80s, sort of a period where like children's cartoons had become something different that wasn't really ideally suited for young children, or for children who wanted funniness. Mm-hmm. Like G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe's big business. It's not like a Looney Tunes stand-in.
No,
so
certainly not.
You've got a lot of kids who are, you know, out of necessity, because it's what the media is giving you, are turning to these 50s, 60s, even 70s cartoons. And even as a kid, I could tell quality when I saw it. You can watch Rabbit Fire. In this run of episodes we just watched, and you can be like, you know what? I think that was a more carefully made and exceptional product than any Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Yeah, there's no question there. And yeah, it's a really good option for throwing on the TV when you need stuff to fill the hours, because it's like very, very little kids will love it. Just because it's surprising and, you know, the pacing is really good. And you know, wacky characters, fun voices. And adults, you know, all the way up through adults will find something that they like in it because it's really, really well written, well made. Spoiler, I think Looney Tunes good. But yeah, so I was happy to come back to some of these. It was tough. You know, I gave you a list and you were like, that's a lot of cartoons.
Yeah, it was a lot of cartoons.
It is a lot of cartoons.
When I was eight or nine deep, I was like, okay, we're almost done. And then I was like, oh God, I haven't even watched the Foghorn Leghorn one yet.
It's true. That was the product of much whittling away. These were just like, off the top of my head, what are all the ones that rattle around in my brain? And this is nothing like all of those, but it is quite a few of those. The ones we did were Hair Raising Hare, Rabbit Fire, What's Opera Doc, One Froggy Evening, Scaredy Cat, A Sheep in the Deep, Robin Hood Daffy, Duck Amuck, Gee Whiz, and Little Boy Boo.
Little Boy Boo, maybe my favorite of the run.
Really? Okay, good. I'm glad I ended on a high note.
Yeah, so I watched these in the order you listed them. I assumed that was what you wanted me to do.
Yeah, I was, you know, I if I had watched them all the way through, I probably would have given it a slightly different order, but this is what felt right to me in theory.
So wasn't I delighted to start up the first episode, Hair Raising Hare, and more or less the first thing I see is the twisted visage of a Looney Tunes-ified Peter Lorre as the mad scientist.
Yes.
Did you ever have the feeling you was being watched? Being watched, he says.
Droopy eyelids. Eyes a little bloodshot, but the eyelids just, like, practically seeping blood. So much blood in the eyelids. So droopy, so low. He hasn't slept his whole life. Peter Lorre never slept, folks. That's how he got like that.
Yeah. Real Peter Lorre, pretty cute, actually.
In his
distinctive
youth.
Look, but I think surely he thought it was funny, right? I don't know. I never heard like anyone interview him and like get his opinion on it. But yes, this is one of the spooky ones. I realized making this list how many of them, my favorites, the ones that stuck with me the most, are like we're in a spooky place, we're in a spooky castle. So this is a spooky castle. It says Mad Scientist in neon writing on the side, and Peter Lorre is looking through his televisor at Bugs Bunny for some reason, he wants to do experiments on him or just feed him to his monster. So he sends a robo-sexy bunny to lure him away.
Yeah, he quite explicitly wants to feed him. He says to the monster, at the start of this unpictured, we will later know him as Gossamer. He tells the monster, I'm getting a nice tender rabbit for you. So this is explicitly an effort to eat the rabbit. As many people do. Does Elmer Fudd want to eat bugs?
Sometimes.
No.
In one of these, he explicitly is a vegetarian, but I don't think that's always true.
Yeah. So Peter Lorre wants to seize Bugs in order to feed him to a beast that he has created, presumably. They don't really address whether he created the beast or he just has a monster in a room that he got
unclear.
somehow.
I would assume he made him, but...
Yeah. Yeah, Bugs falling for the robot that looks like a sexy lady is sort of like if a basketball player playing against the Lakers, flopped and fell on the ground and acted like he was dead, and it convinced LeBron that he was really hurt. That's...
You think he should be above this?
I think he should know this, because this is his, this isn't his A1 move, but, if you get Bugs on the back foot and you force him to go to, the third or fourth step in his bag, it's always either dressing as a sexy lady or there's, a mannequin made of dynamite dressed as a sexy lady. That's his whole thing.
Did you ever find Bugs Bunny attractive when he'd put on a dress and play a girl bunny? No. Neither did I. I was just asking.
And yet, the second he sees it, he's like, "No, I'm just too horny."
Sorry,
it's the middle of the night. Who knows what Bugs' proclivities are? Maybe he gets a little randy when the sun goes down. We never see really what goes on in that hole.
Yeah,
in later iterations, sometimes you see, in that theatrical short in the '90s with the pod people. I think you see inside his hole at one point, but by and large. That's his zone. It's like the inside of Snoopy's doghouse. It's more fun for you to try to think what's in there than to ever see it.
I was going to say Oscar the Grouch's can. It's all the same thing. They're all connected. Yeah. Pocket dimension underneath there.
I could have sworn I was being watched. Yeah, but I guess it was just my imagination. Well...
You could argue that he's trying to spring the trap. He sees it, he knows it, and so then he leans into it. Anyway, so he follows the bunny to the evil mad scientist's castle. Peter Lorre locks the door behind him, and he's like,
"You don't need to lock that door, Mac. I don't want to leave.
I want to stay."
Yeah, I'm... Look, you got any condoms in this castle? If you don't, that's the only reason you gotta unlock the door.
So he goes and starts smooching on the lady rabbit robot, her arm, and then she falls apart. He's like, as ladies do. She falls apart after you kiss her.
Baby! That's the trouble with some dames. Kiss them and they fly apart.
Peter Lorre's like, "Oh, no, there's someone else I want you to meet." And he's like, "Oh, someone else. All right, lead the way."
So Bugs, is this sort of setting forth that, Bugs would go to, an orgy, a sex party? He's not I've got my eye on one person. Well, if that person collapses into a heap of bolts on the ground, I'll just keep it moving. I'll move right along to door number 2.
Well, yeah, door number 1 was so appealing. Why wouldn't you? I think he's just sort of, a cad in a sort of 40s-y way. So then he, hears the monster through the door and is like, "All right, bye," and goes to pack a bunch of stuff that he had not brought in, going through drawers, putting into a suitcase. California Here We Come plays.
Well, goodbye.
Yeah. This is a style of joke that when I saw it as a kid in the 80s, it's weird because it's I have no context for getting what this joke is exactly, but they pass it off in a way where you instantly get what's happening and exactly why it's funny. It sort of bears no explanation, despite being a type of joke that is a full 40 years out of date at the point I saw it. Also, the California Here We Come music, like we discussed on the Patreon episode about the movie, which uses Powerhouse for the factory. It's like, was this music ever used for anything but Looney Tunes? Like, it feels like you have parasitically consumed this sound. This is just a Looney Tunes song in my head now.
Yeah, so much of the music is like that, and so much of it pre-exists Looney Tunes. A lot of it is classical that was all adapted and made more Looney Tunesy, mostly by Carl Stalling. But it's all just perfect. Like the music and Mel Blanc's voice, and if you had those, it would feel like 90% of the formula. And then it's like phenomenal writing, phenomenal directing, and the drawing so satisfying. Anyway, so Gossamer gets out, goes to hunt down Bugs. He runs away from him in various ways. At one point, he pretends to be a lamp, has a lampshade on his head with a little string hanging down, but then Gossamer pulls the lampshade off, but he's got light bulbs in his ears. And Gossamer pulls the string, and the bulbs do turn on, and he's sort of satisfied.
I feel like he's both, like, a little vexed, but also like, well, clearly it can't be him, because he's not a lamp.
Right, yes. And then Bugs Bunny does a little shuffling off to Buffalo, getting away. Gossamer sees him, and then he pulls the lampshade down further and does some ballet, some ballerina stuff. All of this, it's just like, it all flows in such a way that it's like, of course this is what's next. It's that, satisfying storytelling. It's like music. It's like, well, the next thing that should happen is this, and it happens just on cue. Even though you don't know what it is, when it hits, it's the right thing.
We get one line here where Bugs is trying to open the locked door, and he's unable to. This is when he first encounters Gossamer, and he's like, "Oh, you look like a strong, healthy boy. Can you help me open this door?"
Here, you look like a strong, healthy boy. Give me a hand.
Yeah, he does a lot of Groucho Marx walking in this one, too. He's like leaning forward as though he's got a cigar, and he's got his hand behind his back like Groucho. At one point, Bugs is giving Gossamer a manicure. Talking about what interesting people monsters are, what interesting people they must meet.
My, I'll bet you monsters lead interesting lives. I said to my girlfriend just the other day, gee, I'll bet monsters are interesting, I said. The places you must go and the things you must see, my stars. And I'll bet you meet a lot of interesting people, too.
This rattles around my head anytime somebody says something is interesting. And then he does the manicure. You don't really see it, but Gossamer has like yellow to black nails. And then in the next scene, he's got just yellow nails. So it's like, no, he did actually give him a manicure. Don't worry.
Service with a smile.
Then he has him put his hands in the water, as you do, and there are mouse traps in the water. So all of this, it's like, oh, there's a terrifying monster, but this is just a chance for me to come up with various pranks, or use all the ones I've come up with in advance. I will use them on this guy who is trying to hurt me.
As we're drawing to a close here, we get three successive of Bugs saying,
"And so, having disposed of the monster, and so, having redisposed of the monster, and so, having redisposed of the monster, exit our hero through the front door, stage right."
And then he walks off, but he gets stymied by Gossamer 2 more times after doing this. Mm-hmm. His final victory against Gossamer is when he says once again, as he opened it, "Do you ever feel like you're being watched?" And he draws Gossamer's attention to the presence of you, the viewer, the audience.
"Look, out there in the audience.
People!
Earlier, Bugs was like, "Is there a doctor in the house?" And you get the silhouette of a human man standing up as though it's in a theater, and he says,
Is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor in the house?
I'm a doctor.
What's up, Doc?
That is something that happens more than once in Looney Tunes. Mm-hmm. That thing. They do that in the movie we did for the Patreon feed, too. And so once Gossamer sees that there are people watching, he's wrenched with stage fright and like runs back into the scene, like punching holes in the walls. Dozens of Gossamer-shaped holes. And then Bugs is finally seems like he'll be able to get away, but then there's another wind-up clockwork bunny woman. And this time he's like, mechanical.
Mechanical. Well, so it's mechanical.
And then he starts walking after her like a robotic bunny. So Bugs is, in a very early way, staking out a very pro AI girlfriend position here.
I don't know.
Bugs
if he
sitting
has
in his
any
hole,
AI.
talking to a chatbot, trying to gas himself up.
I think he just has a very fully fleshed out fleshlight.
Yeah. This is not this. Whenever this came out, they didn't have. This was not good technology for like a companion robot. I guarantee you, the only thing inside that robot is gears.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no accommodating like zones.
Accommodating zones.
Yeah.
Was this one of your cartoons? Was this one of your Looney's tune?
I certainly remember this one. I remember it in particular because when I was in elementary school, as we mentioned on the bonus episode, there was a handful of Bugs Bunny video games and Looney Tunes games I played. At my elementary school, in one classroom, there was a computer that had a Looney Tunes game. I believe it was an MS-DOS game where you're wandering through a castle. It's like you know how those early DOS games had like the colors ranged from like light blue to purple? Like it was that weird color range. So it was almost all purple. I think Bugs might have been blue, but then there's a Gossamer stalking you through these endless castle rooms. I think I more knew him from that. I definitely found Gossamer unsettling. But this one I think I probably saw less than, some of the high heat ones we have coming up, like Rabbit Fire, the duck season, rabbit season thing. That's like center cut proof of concept of what the modern Looney Tunes dynamic would become.
Do you think that you're doing it on purpose, that when we're talking about a show, you're like, actually, this reminds me of the obscure video game about the show? Because you've already done it 3 times this episode. So just want you to think about your actions.
If you like hearing me talk about that sort of thing, check me out on Twitch at Chris Togfer.
What if I don't like hearing it? How do we stop it?
Then you can
Miranda
end the
has
show.
frequently complained.
You can end the show. You can do this show yourself. You can just talk about bugs to no one. Some people will like that, but I bet it'll be fewer people than enjoy having 2 people of any perspective on this subject. Also, you were the first person to bring up video games this episode. You brought up DT's Looney Tunes B-Ball stream. I wasn't even going to mention that, to be quite honest.
So, next we have Rabbit
Still
Fire
angry.
from 1950. It is another Chuck Jones joint. Going through this, I wrote down each director. There are only 2 that are not Chuck Jones, and both of them are Robert McKimson. No Friz Freeling, none of the others that I would have thought would have made an appearance. Anyway, so Rabbit Fire, yes, is a Bugs and Daffy and Elmer cartoon. It is one of the most famous ones, I feel like, and righteously so. Daffy Duck, has like fake rabbit feet that he's making. I hope they're fake. That he's making tracks around
Wabbit wax.
to Bugs's hole, so as to entrap him, because he sees that Elmer Fudd, the hunter, is around.
Daffy is basically doing a swatting here. He's trying to orchestrate a scenario whereby Bugs will be killed.
That's true. Yes,
it's a pretty it's a real affront. I think you could make the case that Bugs plays this off in the spirit of good fun much more than he, would have to.
Yes.
And then he goes down and like wakes up Bugs to lure his upper half out of the hole so that Elmer can have him dead to rights, staring down the barrel. Look, I get it. You're a Looney Tunes guy. You're a wacky guy, but. Bugs talks his way out of this, but if for an instant Elmer Fudd gets a itchy trigger finger and pulls that trigger, Bugs is dead. Bugs Bunny has been shot dead. His brains are everywhere.
He gets his ears skimmed, and throughout this, Daffy takes one in the face like every 30 seconds. And it's always for wacky effect, but you do get the feeling that like Bugs can't take this. Bugs has to like dance around it. He can't just like take the damage. He's like Spider-Man.
You think Bugs would be killed if he got a shotgun blast to the face, whereas Daffy sort of operates on like gag manga rules where you don't
Yes.
have to. Yeah, it's funny. I assumed Bugs operated, but yeah, no, because Bugs. Bugs dies in the opera one.
Yeah.
Bugs is more able to incur mortal damage as a Looney Tune than certainly Daffy, or I think any of the others are.
Yeah.
And that's what makes you relate to him. That's what makes him human.
Right. It's like Indiana Jones. You want to see him struggling.
Yeah.
Daffy has said that he's just, he's doing this both for self-preservation and also just because he likes fucking with Bugs.
Survival of the fittest. And besides, it's fun.
Bugs Bunny, when he's got the gun in his face, very calmly sort of moves it to the side, starts chewing his carrot, starts figuring out what his tactic is going to be here. And he's like, well, this is duck season. You can't be killing rabbits. It's illegal.
Now I got you, you wabbit.
Say, Doc, are you trying to get yourself in trouble with the law?
He's really staking a lot on Elmer Fudd's. I always thought Elmer Fudd's obsession with Bugs specifically transcended matters of law or convenience. But here, it seems like he's like, no, I'm leaving with one of you. But he
Right.
doesn't seem to he's not like obsessively going after Bugs. He's very willing to swivel his barrel over to Daffy if needs be.
Yeah, he's just here for the kill. He later says that he's a vegetarian. He's not interested in eating either of them, but he hunts for sport.
In a way, that's the sickest perspective
Yes.
of all.
Yeah, he just likes killing.
Yeah.
So Daffy says, no, it's wabbit season. And Bug says, no, it's duck season.
That, sir, is an investigated fabrication. It's wabbit season. Duck season. Wabbit season. Duck season. Wabbit season. Duck season. Wabbit season. Wabbit season. Duck season. Wabbit season. I say it's duck season, and I say fire.
Elmer shoots him in the face. When I was a very little kid, you would see these things. But then in the mid-90s, they started worrying about showing people being shot on screen, even Wacky Ducks. And so you would get just a freeze frame of like Bugs looking smug or something. You'd hear a gunshot, and it was much eerier.
I don't even remember that. That's funny.
Yeah, it was always like, what am I not seeing? Like, what's going on over there?
And I say fire.
Yeah, that makes it seem more serious. That's like in a show where they don't want to depict someone committing suicide, so you just see like a picture of a door and then you hear the gunshot go off.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
that's much
exactly.
more distressing than seeing, oh, look, Daffy's bill is spinning around. He's fine.
Right. Yeah. No, something terrible has happened. We can't even show you. There's blood everywhere.
Yeah.
And so Daffy's like, hold on, let's do that again. And Bugs is like, okay. And then does it again. Same result. All of it just like, again, paced so well. You're just like, you know what's going to happen. There's so much of this that is about suspense, but like expected suspense. You aren't like, oh no, don't let this happen. You're like, oh, this is going to happen. What way is it going to happen? Especially like Roadrunner cartoons. There's a ton of that where it's like all set up and then a very quick hit of the ending.
Let's try that again. Okay, I'll start it this time. Right. Wabbit season. Duck season. Wabbit season. Wabbit season. Duck season. Fire!
Yeah, Roadrunner cartoons are almost like Columbo and how little suspense they are over, like, what the eventual outcome will be. It's
Right,
all
yeah.
about how you get there. How does he
yeah.
blow this one? He's got a suit that lets him fly. How could he possibly fuck this up? In this one, Elmer Fudd, refers to Bugs as a squooey wabbit, and then Daffy as a screwball duck. So that's like a very slight difference. The difference between being screwy and being a screwball. But I do feel like it's accurate, right? Like Bugs is screwy, Daffy is a screwball.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is wacky, in a way that is like sort of inherent to him, where Bugs will screw with you.
Bugs is a little askew. Daffy feels like he's self-consciously like, no, I'm a zany guy.
Right. So Bugs and Daffy dress up as each other in order to be like, yeah, as I said, it's duck season or wabbit season, whichever. And this, I was like, it's cute to see them with like, or a plunger on their butt for a tail or whatnot. But what was really impressive was just Mel Blanc doing Daffy doing Bugs, or vice versa. That it's like knowing how to do a fake voice that you do, faking a different voice that you do. He was something special, this guy.
Yep. What's up, Doc? Having any luck with those ducks? It's duck season, you know.
Just a darn minute. Where do you get that duck season stuff?
Says so right over there on that sign. You're so smart.
As a kid, the bit where they go back and forth arguing duck season, rabbit season, and then Bugs invariably will switch to saying rabbit season to bait Daffy into saying duck season and being shot. This was my favorite thing in the whole episode, especially the cadence of when Daffy, it happens once and he gets fed up and starts trying to speed it along to prove that he won't be fooled again. The one where he grabs the barrel of the gun and aims it at himself and yells "Fire!" is very good.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of these, the funniness is, as you said, Mel Blanc. It's more down to like the delivery and the pace of the joke more than like what's being said itself.
Yeah. No, they clearly are, it's not like they're not storyboarding these out carefully, but that it's like the rhythm that he gave you, that is the correct rhythm, that is the read I'm giving you is the right read. Then they're going through cookbooks. Oh, well, here's how to cook rabbit. And the one, when I was a kid, I thought these were all real recipes, and I just didn't listen to them carefully. And this time I wrote down
Rabbit au gratin de gelatin under tooled leather. Oh, drool.
Rabbit au gratin de gelatin under tooled leather. This was like disgusting. What's going on there? Anyway, finally we get to the big payoff scene. Duck season. Bugs has been posting duck season signs around. So then, of course, Daffy's been posting rabbit season signs. Then they start pulling them off. Duck season, rabbit season, duck season, rabbit season. Finally, underneath them all is Elmer season. And Elmer is like, oh shit. Like, okay, this is legit. This is how this works. He isn't like, well, I still have a gun and you guys don't. And, no. He realizes now I am the hunted.
He's immediately fleeing as bullets rain down upon him. And Daffy and Bugs both have Elmer Fudd get-ups.
Rabbit season, duck season, rabbit season, duck season.
Uh-oh.
Shh, be very, very quiet. We're hunting Elmer's.
Good fun. A wonderful classic Looney Tunes episode.
Yeah, and a good ending. Some of these end very strong, and some of them you just kind of peter out because it's like, well, how are you going to wrap it up? It doesn't matter. It's been 7 minutes. We're done. We're out of here. That is a classic ending. So now, What's Opera, Doc, from 1957, also Chuck Jones, 7 years after.
I never liked seeing this one when I was a kid because I was like, this one's boring. It's not as funny. It's more, it's more operatic, right?
Yes, in some ways.
But it's also, it's sort of it's playing with the conventions here a little bit because of all the Looney Tunes I've seen, this is probably the one in which Elmer Fudd, in his pursuit position against Bugs, there's a real power imbalance here that doesn't exist between them in any other context. Like, Elmer Fudd does seem to have supernatural ability to rain down lightning from the heavens on Bugs.
Yeah.
Which Bugs initially mocks the idea that he has a magic helmet.
I will do it with my spear and magic helmet.
Your spear and magic helmet?
Spear and magic helmet.
Magic helmet?
Magic helmet.
Magic helmet.
Yes, magic helmet, and I'll give you a sample.
He runs up the mountain and summons hell, unleashes hell, basically. He's dressed in like it's introduced with like a shadowy figure doing kind of like Night on Bald Mountain like poses, and then you see it's just a from behind and below shadow casting upwards of little Elmer Fudd. But he's got like a helmet with devil horns and like golden armor and a spear. And Bugs initially sort of balks at the idea that he is empowered by his magic helmet, but then it quickly becomes clear that this is all too true, and Bugs looks shook. This is I'm in over my head on this one. Is old Bugs gonna wriggle out of this one?
Yeah, the shadow animation is so good and cool, and the whole like the styling of this one is very. I think it's meant to evoke opera backdrops, obviously, but it feels very expressionist. The whole look of it, and it's very cool. Elmer Fudd himself very cute in this one. It looks more like Chuck Jones is going towards the Grinchy style. Like you can see that it's like his drawing style. You see like a very distinct Fudd here, and
I'm not a Fudd guy. I don't like Fudd. I guess the only one of them I really deeply like is Bugs, right? Because he's the heart and soul of the Enterprise, and he's the one who feels like, hey, you're all in on the joke with me, right? The other ones, I always feel like there's something a little bit like keeping you at arm's length from really relating. Who is Daffy? Like I really liked Daffy too, but he's a bit more of an odd duck, as they say. But Fudd, I'm like, get this mother Fudder out of here.
Well, who do you like Bugs to fight against then?
I prefer him just being at odds with Daffy to clashing sabers with Fudd. Like the one we'll do later, Duck Amuck. That one is
not
sort of
really him being against him. I mean, it is.
It sort of is, but that's the point. Is
It's
more of a trolling relationship, which I think I prefer to the will this man shoot Bugs? But yeah, he realizes, oh, that's the Wabbit.
That was the Wabbit.
I didn't realize this initially. I don't know how I missed it. He's not like in disguise.
No,
in this first part.
He's just talking. I mean, obviously, we didn't mention that this is all sung. There are no.
Yes.
There's only 2 like normal lines in this. It is all opera from actual operas, except for one song, which is written for this by the guy that did a bunch of the stories. I wrote down his name, and then I just kept seeing it in the credits. Michael Maltese.
Bugs gets out ahead of him and runs up to this like little temple on this flight of stairs, and we said earlier that if you get him like deep enough in his game plan, he's gonna turn to this. This is his first move in this one. He's like, I have to assume the form of a beautiful woman atop an ivory white steed, a plump horse, a pleasantly plump horse.
Yes, the fattest horse that has ever lived.
And I have to seduce Elmer Fudd to save my skin. But he really goes... This isn't like he's doing this so that he can pull the rug out from under Fudd. At least not that we see. He's going all in. It feels like he's just going to let Fudd have his way with him if he doesn't realize what's going on here.
Oh, Brunhilde, you're so other.
Yes, I know it. I can't help it.
Oh, Brunhilde, be my love.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe he just needs to entertain him for a day, and then he can get out of there.
Maybe. It feels like this is the one instance where Bugs' use of drag seduction, it feels more like a two-way street. Like, it feels like he is into this, too. In a way that is a little unusual.
Maybe that's the plot of this opera, is that, he thinks that he's fooling him, but then he actually does fall in love with him. And that's why it's a tragedy. But yes, the horse stuff I loved as a kid. I mean, I loved all of it, but the horse stuff explicitly, I was like, this is amazing and hilarious. And watching it now, it's like there's just a few shots of that horse. It's very self-assured. I mean, part of it is just that they know there's only 7 minutes, so they don't linger on gags, unlike say, a Looney Tunes movie that we just saw, where you kind of have to milk everything for a little bit to hit that 90-minute mark. There's like an effect over the lens that makes it look like there's like a spotlight on them, which always drove me crazy as a kid, that it was like, I don't know, the spotlight didn't follow them, it just was centered, and then they kind of walk in and out of it. Now I think it's stylistically cool.
Return, my love, a longing burns deep inside me.
Return, my love. I want you always beside me. Return, won't you return, my love? For my love is yours.
They have their little moment, and then Bugs's helmet that was hiding his ears falls off. Elmer is enraged and calls down hell.
Yeah, and this sort of goes to show you that this is a lesson in toxic masculinity. The true danger only emerges when he's been tricked and had his romantic and sexual desires teased and tantalized in this way. His sense of manhood has been wounded, and therefore he rains down lightning to try to kill the Wabbit. And he succeeds! He kills Bugs Bunny. He peers down on the destruction he's wrought and sees atop a sort of an altar, a natural altar,
Yeah.
the crumpled, lifeless body of Bugs Bunny. He immediately feels contrition about this. He's like, "Oh my God, I killed him. Oh no, what have I done? What have I done?" And he goes down and picks up Bugs' limp, lifeless body and carries him off into the distance as light rains down from heaven upon them. At which point Bugs briefly opens his eyes to the audience and says,
Well, what did you expect in an opera? A happy ending?
and that's the end. So, to me, that aside from Bugs at the end, breaking the fourth wall is clearly, it's a nod to the audience to soothe the children who are worried, is Bugs really dead? Mm-hmm. They want to make it clear, don't worry, Bugs will return. But I think I would make the case that means canonically in this one, Bugs is killed by Elmer Fudd.
Yeah.
This is the first of the classic cartoons I can think of that ends with Elmer Fudd successfully slaying Bugs Bunny. And in that respect, this is like... There's not so many jokes in this one. This one kind of is just a weirdly artful piece that ends in a weird, kind of upsetting way.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because they're putting lyrics to tunes that you know.
Yeah.
Like, kill the Wabbit, these tunes. And so the humor is, if you are familiar with the operas, then it's like, oh, it's funny that they're doing this and the visual gags. But yeah, it is, I agree. He's dead. The actor isn't. Obviously, the setup basically, as learned in Duck Amuck and others, is that they're sort of actors. They are cartoons, but they have wills of their own.
Yeah.
And
sort of like the underground theory about Super Mario Brothers 3, which I think
Yes,
I think
right.
Miyamoto confirmed that it's all supposed to be like a stage play about Mario fighting Bowser.
right, right. So
Just to take this back to video games.
yes, I know. Yeah, I'm sorry. We strayed from our remit. Love What's Opera Doc. My mom showed it to her voice teacher, who was from Germany, classically trained, and she had never seen this one, and she showed it to her, and she was rolling. She loved it. So you say no jokes, but if you're an opera lady, this one is for you. So the next one we watched was One Froggy Evening. This is the one with Michigan J. Frog. That frog, what sings?
Yeah, this is a real quick hitter. There's not much to this one, which I appreciate. Also, casts a long shadow as Michigan J. Frog would become the second most powerful Warner Brothers mascot behind Bugs, as the flagship icon of the WB channel. When it became the CW, they kicked him to the curb, right?
I would assume. It's very strange that this guy in this cartoon, they're like, yes, that's our mascot. None of the ones you know or care about, but he has no baggage. He has no thought behind him, so he can just sing
he has
about
some baggage. Isn't he singing like Al Jolson?
yeah, maybe. But the songs are not inherently black-faced. think the
Sure.
songs are just songs.
Look, I
remember
support him. I'm not trying to cancel Michigan J. Frog here, but
we start. There's a construction worker tearing down a building. He hits the cornerstone, which has a little time capsule thing in it that says, when it was built, dedicated to whom, and a box with a frog in it.
right off the bat, I love in these Looney Tunes when the ostensible protagonist in this case isn't someone you've ever seen before. It's just like you don't see him drinking, but he's drawn like a wino. Like a wino construction worker who's like never going to amount to anything. The second he sees the frog, he gets like money signs around his eyes and starts like, and then like pulls his coat up and like scurries away. This guy is a low status scoundrelly guy, but not like a cool Han Solo scoundrel. No. This is a middle-aged man who has one more shot to cobble together enough money to buy drinks for the last 10 years of his life.
He's more mustache now than man. And he's, he definitely has the energy of like the ill-fated character in a noir, but not like not one of the mystery noirs that everybody thinks of. Just one of the ones where it's like, I have nothing going on. I will do anything for a buck, and I see my chance, and I'm grabbing it. He's that guy, but he has no voice. This is the only voice in this. I think is Michigan himself who sings the songs. So the frog starts singing and dancing. He takes him to a talent agency. The frog just sits there. He puts a little top hat on him and like tries to make him dance around, and the frog is just like limply, being dragged along with this. Anytime that I think Michigan J. Frog when he's singing is at his least cute. He is absolutely adorable when he's just a frog that ribbits and has a little hat on.
The sort of comedic tension in this is that whenever someone's looking, he doesn't do the singing and dancing, which makes everyone think this guy's just a crazed drunk. He's not. His daddy's hat's fallen off, if it was ever on. So do you think this is? On the one hand, you could say this is kind of like the proto Toy Story thing, where like the toys won't do anything when people are around. But on the other hand, like, is the Michigan J... Because they present it at points like he's singing, but the guy can't get people in there to see it quickly enough before the song ends.
Right.
Like, if he had hustled the guy out there a little quicker, would he have finished the song with the guy watching and then gone inert? Is he deliberately like a trickster spirit?
Yes.
Or is this all happenstance? Because he is like presumably hundreds of years old.
Right, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I love how it starts that you're like, oh, there's this frog in this box, and then you kind of forget over the course of it. And then when it comes back around, you're like, oh yeah, he's infinitely lived. No, I think that he is... you would say that he could have gotten them there in time, but because of the frog's trickster magic, you can't do that. He's some sort of imp or demon. So yeah, he won't sing. Then as soon as they get kicked out of the office, he's singing. He goes and grabs the guy to show him. And again, he wraps up the song. He comes to a perfect end of the song. I think that's intentional. Yeah. And then our protagonist sees a theater that he could rent out, a beat up old theater. He gets all his money out from his flophouse bed. All the while, anytime he's not around anybody, Michigan is just singing and singing every song in the book. Michigan Rag is number one. Hello My Baby is obviously the most remembered, but I think it's not sung as much. And he rents out the theater, has it all set up. The frog is doing everything he wants him to, like on cue. He's like on a tightrope. Yeah. And so the guy, puts out a sign saying, singing, dancing frog. No one comes in. Says free admission. Nobody comes in. Puts out a sign saying free beer, and all these reprobates come in. Yeah, and you can hear him singing, and so our guy is running backstage to pull the cord to open the curtain, and the cord breaks, and it's like, this is when you know that this is an evil frog. This is not a good frog.
Yeah, so he wraps up singing the second he's able to get the curtains open. And then everyone starts booing and pelting the man with their rotten fruit. Everyone brought rotten fruit to the theater back then. On top of everything else, it's like, you didn't pay for this. Oh, it's just a frog. You got free beer in here. Did he actually give them free beer? Does he have free beer?
I think no free beer. I think that's where...
That's what they're booing about. Yes, where's the free beer?
The frog could be singing and dancing. They wouldn't
Who the
care.
fuck's this frog? this is sort of the last straw as far... I mean, he's tapped out. He's spent all the money he had. He leveraged every limited resource he had to rent this theater. And then he bombed out on the one show. So now he's just in the park, seemingly homeless, sitting on a park bench, shivering in the cold while Michigan J. Frog dances the Michigan rag. There's a high wall. You can see a police officer's hat over the wall walking by. The cop only hears this boisterous singing, presumably regards this as a noise complaint, and then goes into the park. But by the time he's come around the wall, the frog has stopped. The man gestures to the frog. I really love the look on his face here, because it's not even like, you don't understand, you have to believe me. It's more resigned, like, look, it was the frog. I know you're not going to believe me. You're about to haul me off to jail. It was the fucking frog. I know.
Right.
I know. And that's the tired energy by which he brings to this conversation.
Yeah, totally. It's just like, fucking, all right, well, here we go. It's the frog. Oh no, I'm going to jail. Then I go to jail, and you bring the frog with me. This frog gets to sting to me in jail.
But unfortunately, he's not taken just to jail. He's taken to, I believe it says, a psychopath hospital.
Okay.
It doesn't even say psychiatric hospital. It's either psychopath or psycho something. But it's not like a good word for a hospital to be in. And then eventually he's let out. He sees that they're christening, grand opening of the new building he was working on. He feverishly runs into the bowels to return Michigan J. Frog to this ceremonial time capsule stone in the basement. And then flash forward 200 some odd years. Some man who is dressed in a way we would say this was a Martian man if we saw him today, a man from Mars. But he lives here on Earth. They're building a new building. He finds Michigan J. Frog. Michigan J. Frog starts singing and dancing, a type of music this guy surely has never heard before, because it's now, 200-300 years in the future. Ragtime was it was a little antiquated by the time this last guy found him, but not so. Like, everyone knew what musical lineage this was coming from.
Right.
But all the same, he's like, well, this is a singing and dancing frog. I'm going to make some money off this. And he scurries away with it, much as the man did. So this is just a lesson in mankind's hubris. Everyone will try to make money off Michigan J. Frog, and everyone will be utterly ruined in the effort.
Yeah, I think it's a good story.
Yeah,
because if they didn't want anything out of him, if they weren't trying to milk him for money, if they were just like, oh my god, this amazing frog, I think he still might be able to sing for people. It's only that they are like, I could use this frog. But I like that he returns him to the building. When he returns him to the building, you're like, oh, this has all happened before. How many times?
Yeah.
Jessica, who is sometimes on this podcast, was saying that she was talking to her boyfriend about, how most cultures have something fermented that they go and bury, and then they dig it up later, and it ferments, like kimchi or, borscht or whatever. And it's significant to their culture. And does America have anything like that? No. Well, or does it? America, instead of having it be that we are part of the land, we are here permanently, and so we bury the thing, and it's still there months later when we come back for it. Everything has to be new. It's always we're on the move, right? You couldn't bury something because I have to move next month or week or whatever. But what we do have instead is time capsules, where it's like, oh, here is what things were like right now, but we know that progress just keeps going up and up and up, and everything's getting better all the time. So this will seem significant to you because you're robbed of any deeper history or culture. Here is what we get is like, oh, we used to have pet rocks in the 70s, and it's in this box. So maybe this is also about America. Think about it. Yeah, so the next we have here is Scaredy Cat from 1947, also a Chuck Jones joint.
Also a Garfield Halloween Adventure lyric.
Yep.
The one thing I'm not is a scaredy cat.
And so the cat in question is Sylvester, previously unnamed. This is the first time that his name is said on screen. And it's a good choice for a name for Porky Pig to scream, because Porky Pig is his owner in this one. And
I don't like this. I don't like this
Porky
reality where
Sylvester
Porky
is
is Sylvester's owner. I don't. It's part of the magic of Looney Tunes is that you can put two of these guys in any one discrete cartoon, and you can sort of reinvent what their relationship is to each other. But I do not like Porky and Sylvester.
You don't like Porky. You don't like Porky and anybody.
It's true, but I don't. This isn't I'd rather see Porky and Bugs than I would Porky and Sylvester.
How much Porky and Bugs do we get? I feel like that's not a common matchup.
They hang out in Space Jam and New Legacy.
Yeah. A lot
Porky
of your Looney
does his
Tunes
rap.
knowledge is a
His
little more
incredible
recent.
rap. Wouldn't it be funny if Porky Pig tried to rap?
Apparently not. So Porky has bought a house. It's a spook house, and Sylvester is spooked. There's various signs of things being wrong, but Porky ignores them. And Porky he tells Sylvester to go to the kitchen, sleep there. He's going to go upstairs. Sylvester just like sticks to him like a shadow and just moves along with him, even when Porky gets entirely naked, shockingly, and into his night.
Yeah, I didn't like seeing him stripped down to his entire nude state. That was distressing.
Certainly with Sylvester just sticking to him like glue. Kicks him out of the bed. But then Sylvester goes downstairs, and we're not in suspense long as to what the evil is in this house. It's just sinister mice. There's mice holding candles in an eerie procession, one wearing an executioner's hood and dragging a cat in like a wagon, a cat that's all tied up. So it's Sylvester's worst nightmare, but it all is true. None of this is like in his head. I really loved, the mice here. This was really like, this is what I remembered most about it, was these evil mice. So Sylvester keeps getting kicked out, keeps coming back. Finally, Porky Pig's like, look, you can't stay here. You gotta go. Sylvester goes to a drawer, pulls out a revolver, and points it at his head. And so Porky Pig's like, all right, fine, you can stay. Just that level. I think that too got cut out of later
I'm sure.
viewings.
Yeah, you're not allowed to make jokes about suicide.
Yeah.
It's a shame because some of our best jokes in those days were jokes that it's like the Peep Show joke, pass me the Doritos or I'll blow my brains out.
Yes.
A lot of good jokes that involve abruptly a pistol appears and you're brandishing it at your own head. Obviously, we take mental health seriously here at Now We Know, but still funny.
Yeah, come on. I like also Porky knocking the bullets out of the revolver.
Yeah, he knows his way around the ammo chamber. You think he served?
Yeah, he must have. That's 1947. He's probably just fresh out of the army. So they sleep in the same bed. The mice like scooch their bed out onto the bough of the tree outside. Porky's like, "Oh, it's cold. Close the window." The mice drag the bed back inside. Sylvester gets up, and there's a birdhouse in the tree with a window that's like 2 inches tall, and Sylvester goes and closes that because he's asleep. He's like sleepwalking. But just that moment of walking over and boop, very good. Then he goes to lie back down and then falls because he realizes he is over nothingness. Then Porky goes downstairs with him. Is like, see, there's nothing wrong. It's a perfectly normal place. All these, like the thing from the pit and the pendulum comes swinging by. The laundry basket that Porky gets knocked into because Sylvester's trying to save his life when there's a bowling ball coming rolling at his head. Then Porky gets up and the laundry basket just like descends into the bowels of the house sinisterly behind him. And Porky finally just, kicks him out, keeps him downstairs. Sylvester gets into the basket. It does descend. He comes back up just like pale white and just like clearly frazzled, and he's gone through some manner of terrible experience. And Porky, isn't having any of it, doesn't believe it. But like from an audience's perspective, it's like, oh no, I don't know what happened, but it was
What
awful.
is down there in that basket if you go down there? Maybe it's the bottom of Mel's hole where the seal and the sheep are fucking, and Sylvester just sees it happening.
But then Porky's like, I'm going to show you nothing's wrong. And then Sylvester goes running off when the mice get to Porky. He sees that the procession has begun anew, but this time Porky is in the wagon holding a sign saying, "You were right, Sylvester." Really the dream. But then Sylvester goes out.
You were right. Now I will die for having doubted you.
Yeah. He goes out into the woods, and a little angel hymn is like, you got to go back. And he's like, And then he holds up like a chart of relative sizes of cat versus mouse. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. And he goes back out and wrecks shop. This is one that just kind of ends. There's another final mouse in a cuckoo clock that's like wearing a Napoleon hat and then does a German accent. And then we're out. It's just like, I don't know, yada, yada. End of cartoon.
Yeah, not a strong ending, but, a vibey procession through this one.
Yeah.
Another spooky toonie from
Yeah.
those Looney Tunes folks. I like this one. I do. I like that Porky is not afraid. I think the scared stuttering pig routine I don't care for. I prefer Porky being the straight man against scaredy Sylvester.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Next one is A Sheep in the Deep. That's one of those Sam and Ralph ones.
That's right. I misspoke on our bonus episode when I referred to these as the Wile E. Coyote ones with the sheepdog. Obviously, he looks exactly like Wile E. Coyote.
But he's got a red nose.
Except for his red nose. His name is Ralph Wolf. He is a different character. He talks. He has a more dry affect. I feel like he's kind of more the Sideshow Bob version of Wile E. Coyote because of his dry affect and manner of speech. You also see him smoking a leisurely cigarette on his lunch break in this one.
Yeah, he's not desperate like Wiley. Wiley's out in the wilderness, and Ralph is just punching the time clock.
Yeah, this is more a parable about the workaday lifestyle of the 40s and 50s. Not like a businessman, but like, would you say Ralph Wolf occupies the professional managerial class? Because he's not entirely like working class, right?
They are working class. They're punching the clock. Anytime you're punching a clock, you're not a manager.
I tell you what, the sheepdog Sam, he's a social climber. He's trying to get up to management, and he's gonna succeed.
I agree with that. Yeah. But Ralph has his own thing going on when he wakes up. Like, Sam is about to punch the clock. They punch the same clock, and Ralph is still in bed. But then his alarm goes off, and then he goes through this whole Wallace and Gromit, like, Rube Goldberg breakfast situation. He gets dumped into a shower, coffee poured down his throat, all of that sort of thing. I wonder when the first one of these was. Feels like maybe a Disney thing originally, but, satisfying to watch.
Figure out when the Rube Goldberg thing was going on, and I imagine it wasn't long after that.
Morning, Sam. Morning, Ralph.
Wile E. Coyote, you get the sense, he has not eaten in years.
Right, yes.
It's a miracle he's still alive. This Roadrunner is the only thing he can think to. There's nothing else out there. What's he going to do, eat rocks?
Right.
Like, there's not a hint of wildlife anywhere else in the Acme Desert or wherever he is. It's a food desert, too. There's no supermarkets. But by contrast, Ralph Wolf, like, you see him eat a sandwich for lunch. He has breakfast and coffee here at his home. It's not like... It is like Elmer Fudd. He's more doing this for the sport of it, and because it is, in some sense, his job to go out here and try to capture the sheep. But he is not. He does not need this to get by.
Right? Yeah. No. Yeah. So that is his job, is to try and eat the sheep, or at least take them away. Maybe it's just like a dog training program, and Sam is about to graduate into doing this professionally with actual wolves that have actual needs. I felt like the gags in this one were not as good as I remembered. It's like nice to watch, but the actual attempts at getting sheep, he just like creeps up on one, grabs it, is running away, and Sam tosses a banana peel that he slips on, so then he slides back to where the sheep was from.
Yeah, it's more rudimentary than the sort of high gadgetry mishaps you get with the coyote. I do think as a kid, I just really liked the fact that he talks in this, which in the coyote ones he doesn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, once again, they're two entirely different characters. Also, Wile E. Coyote does talk very briefly in one of them.
Yeah.
Where he refers to himself as a super genius. A
Right,
line
yes.
read that is burned into my brain. Like, I can hear the exact way he says it as he's unscrewing his carrots. Yeah.
Yeah, if I had
nitroglycerin.
remembered that, I would have done that. Yeah, nitroglycerin carrots.
Wile E. Coyote, super genius. I like the way that rolls out. Wile E. Coyote, super genius.
But it feels of a piece. Like, as a kid, you're like, oh, this is the one where the coyote talks. And I was very enamored with the notion of, like, the punch in, punch out thing. I liked the playing with the idea of, like, oh, we all respect ourselves here. It's sort of like a problematic way that some of our politicians behave.
Yes, I did have that same thought where it's like, oh yeah, well, officially speaking, we're opposed to each other, but obviously, once the lights aren't on, we're all just buddies.
Yeah, I'll meet you in the smoke room.
Right. Yeah, they have lunch together when Sam is holding Ralph out over a ledge. He's holding him by the throat. He's about to drop him to his death. But then it's lunchtime, so they stop. They have lunch together. Sam smokes a pipe while Ralph has a cigarette. And then they make their way back to the same position. Sam taps his pipe out, which I really liked. Does just a little note, like, all right, wrapping up. Then he puts his hand around his throat and then drops him. Yeah, all of that stuff is great. And then the other stuff was fine. And once again, there are times where Sam gets hit with stuff that then makes him go like, oh, look at the screen, I'm all powdery, like I've just been shot or whatever. But you get the sense that if any of these things happened to, or that's for Ralph, if any of these things happened to Sam the sheepdog, just like with Bugs, you're like, no, he can't be hurt in the same way, or like he could be hurt in the same way that Bugs maybe could be hurt. He's the fragile one. The other one can take as much damage as necessary for comedy reasons. But he's serious, so it wouldn't be funny. It would just be sad if he got hurt.
Yeah. There is a good bit here where Ralph thinks he's got the sheep, but then both of them start unzipping a variety of disguises. So, like, the sheep unzips it, and it's the sheepdog. But then Ralph unzips his, and it's a sheep.
Yeah.
And Sam unzips him, and it's Ralph again. And the sheep unzips it, and it's the sheepdog again, but because the sheep was very thin, it's a weird emaciated version of the sheepdog. And they keep doing this until finally they are back at Ralph and the sheepdog.
He unzips again, and it's dynamite.
Oh, yeah. It's dynamite.
So it's like, it was dynamite all along underneath there? That is the point of this cartoon, basically. Was this whole bit was really good. Yeah. And then the rest is just like, well, preamble.
Yeah. And at the end, once again, Sam is about to mete out punishment, but then you hear a whistle, and he's like, well...
It's too close to quitting time, Ralph. Let's pick it up there in the morning. Okay, Sam. Good night. Good night, Ralph.
I agree with you that, on the whole, most of the gags aren't as good, although I really liked the zipper costume one, obviously. Also, at one point, when Sam knocks Ralph down off the edge of the cliff, he falls into a tree stump, and then when he comes out, he's grotesquely folded up like an accordion in a way that felt Cronenberg-esque, and I quite liked that.
The next one we did was Robin Hood Daffy. This is one that was an absolute favorite of mine as a kid. Watching it now, it's basically like 3 scenes with the same gag over and over again. But he's dressed like Robin Hood. I love Robin Hood. So what else do you need?
I felt kind of similarly. I really liked this as a kid. Watching it now, I'm like, what I really like as a kid is that there's just sequences in this where the work Mel Blanc is doing, again, it's not so much what's on the page or the quality of the animated jokes, it's how he's portraying Daffy getting beat up. It's like... whatever it is he's saying, I don't quite remember, but the way every time he jumps off on the rope and hits another tree, it's very much the Sideshow Bob stepping on the rakes thing, where slowly over time, the thing he exclaims is getting more and more degenerated and desperate. And,
yoinks and away. He swings and hits.
Yoinks and away.
Yoinks and away!
it's almost more the rhythmic repetition of this thing that is getting more and more deranged and deteriorated that is what I liked about this. I do like that he's dressed like Robin Hood, but yeah, there's not a lot to this one. And the gags actually aren't that inventive. It's just sort of a good time. It's good, I like it, but it's just a chill good time with Daffy. And Porky Pig as Friar Tuck.
Yeah.
It culminates in Daffy's trying to prove to Porky that he is Robin Hood, and Porky's like, yeah, whatever. You know, it's I'm going to be in the new Robin Hood movie. Yeah, sure. And obviously none of it pans out. He tries to get the riches from this prim, posh guy who's nobleman trotting along on his horse, but...
See yon rich, unwary traveler? I'll rob him of his gold and give it to some poor, unworthy slob. That'll prove that I'm Robin Hood. Prizzy?
You know, he tries to fire a bow and arrow and claims he's going to put it into the guy's wishbone. Like, I'm going to kill him with this arrow.
Now then, fatso, watch as I put a cloth yard shaft through his wishbone. I'm watching, Jester.
But then, like, the bow snaps back and fires him into a tree stump. It's all that level of, like, Daffy can't do anything right. Daffy's a laughingstock. He is Robin Hood, though, right?
Right, yeah. I guess he just had, like, some early success that then he's coasting on.
Yeah.
The bit that I think is solid is when he's going to challenge Friar Tuck to their famous staff match over the river.
With my trusty quarterstaff. Actually, it's a buck and a quarterstaff, but I'm not telling him that.
And then... he's like going through his like kata of like what he does, and he's like,
ho, ha, guard, turn, parry, dodge, spin, ha, thrust.
And he bonks the stick down, and it comes back and hits him in the bill, which then folds up. And then he's like, what did I do wrong? And he talks through it, and then his bill folds up at the end of it. That is that's solid. That's A+ Daffy stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see now. Something amiss here. I'll run through it. Ho, ha, guard, turn, parry, dodge, spin, ha, thrust.
That's sort of the first thing that goes wrong for him here, and the fact that when the bill flips up, I feel like he should know, oh no, that I'm cursed now. Like, I'm officially speaking tilted for the rest of this episode. I shouldn't be trying to, like, swing off ropes. Like, this is all gonna go poorly for me. He ultimately cuts down all these trees because he hits into, like, 7 trees while trying to swing off this rope. Then when he swings down and he clears them, he's sort of looking back, admiring that he's done this before he slams into a rock.
Yeah. The off-camera rock thing is very big in these, and I thought I would feel more like it was a cheat, and it does not feel like a cheat. It feels genuine. It feels like real life. You're like, oh, I think everything's going just fine, and then suddenly you're like, oh, it's because I felt good for a second. Now I fucked up.
Yeah. The sort of final gag of him trying to stop the nobleman is uproariously funny to me, because all this stuff has gone wrong. He's totally on tilt. The guy's about to get to his castle, so he's like, all right, so he hustles out and like takes a wide angle and gets over to the other side of the moat where there's a drawbridge, and he flings himself in front of the drawbridge and puts his arms against it and then yells,
No!
and then the bridge just folds forward on him. But it's a now of like, now, see, finally, there's no way you can get around me now. And like the rhythm of him saying that and then the bridge slamming down is perfection.
Yeah. I also like Porky Pig, after he, of course, bests him at quarterstaff, says...
Prithee, the traveling clown, couldst thou directest me to Robin Hood's hideout?
But just, he's like, oh, you're the jester. He just, like, will always refer to him in these ways that feel genuine and not like when Fonzie says, woeth.
Yeah. And then Porky's like, I'm sorry, I can't join you. I don't believe you're Robin Hood.
Sorry, but I can't join you. I'm convinced you're just not Robin Hood. Never mind joining me. I'll join you. Shake hands with Friar Duck.
So he's thrown in the towel on being Robin Hood. He just had a rough go for like 5 minutes, and he's like, this was such a bad 5 minutes, I can never be Robin Hood again.
Yeah. And then we go to Duck Amuck. This is a Stone Cold classic from 1951. Also
It
Chuck
is.
Jones.
Breaking the mold, countercultural. This was one. Whenever it was on, I was like, "Oh, this is the real shit. This is the fucking avant-garde, mind-bending shit where it's playing with convention."
Yeah, it's also just one of the funniest. As a kid, I watched this. I taped it and watched it just 1,000 times, just over and over.
So this one is whether you know the name or not, most people who have watched a lot of Looney Tunes have surely seen this one. It's the one in which Daffy is being pranked and stunted on by the animator. It starts off seeming to be a Daffy Three Musketeers cartoon.
Stand back, musketeers! They shall sample my blade! Touche!
But very quickly, things start going wrong. It's like that meme of like the horse where the front looks really good, but the back looks terrible as he's parrying his way through the scene. Quickly, the background is just like black and white and scrawled like a 4-year-old.
And then just white.
He gets upset. He's like, "Where's the scenery?" They then paint in new scenery, but it's like a farm. So then he switches to overalls and is doing an old McDonald thing. But every time he tries to... He's grumpy to begin with. He's sort of preening the prima donna here. He's like, "Do you not understand how this works? This is an animated feature. I'm Daffy Duck. You're supposed to be making me look good. Your whole job is to protect your angel, Daffy Duck." But each time he even deigns to try to sort of contort to make what the animator is doing work for him, it's then the rug is pulled out from under him again.
Yeah, he's being game. He's like, I am a professional, like I understand that you guys aren't good at your job, so I will make this work. But you'll never work in this town again once this cartoon is over. And then it's like, no, you're doing this on purpose. Like he starts to realize, so he's does the farmer thing.
Daffy Duck, he had a farm, E-I-A-I-O. And on this farm he had an igloo, E-I-E-I-O. Would it be too much to ask if we could make up our minds?
Because there's now an igloo behind him, and so then he's like, "All right, fine, dashing through the snow," and then it's, "Oh, I'm in Hawaii. All right, fine, like, all right, whatever it is, we're gonna do that one." I like his energy. It's desperation and frustration, but it's also like, sort of a can-do attitude behind that.
The animator finally draws in a background, and then Daffy's like, "All right, that's a good start. Although, in an animated feature, you'd really want some color in here. Can we get some color?" And they color him just a hideous splash of mismatched colors. And he's like, No,
That's dandy. Ho, ho, that's rich, I'll say. Now how about some color, stupid? Hey! Not me, you slop artist!
So then they erase him, so he's just a bill and eyes. And then he's like, paint me back in, draw me back in. And they do, but they draw him as this hideous homunculus beast with like a daffodil petals around his head, like purple petals, and like he's like on 4 legs like an iguana. And then up off his tail is like a little flagpole with a flag that has a screw and a ball on it.
Yes.
And this is you see this form of Daffy referenced a lot. This is Daffy laid low here.
Right. Yes. And I love that he just doesn't even know what's going on. Still, he's just walking. He's like, I feel strange. I mean, I feel all right. It's just I don't quite feel myself. And then they draw in a mirror for him to see himself.
It isn't as though I haven't lived up to my contract, goodness knows. And goodness knows it isn't as though I haven't kept myself trim, goodness knows. I've done that. That's strange. All of a sudden, I don't quite feel like myself. Oh, I feel all right, and yet Hey! You know better than that!
He also says goodness knows in the Duck Season, Wabbit Season 1. That his like default, like, goodness knows, I've been doing these things. Like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. And
the curse of self-awareness.
Yeah. Yes.
In quiet moments, you can tell he sits there and thinks about the things that have happened to him, and he's like, "What could I have done
something different?"
Yeah.
As he's being tortured. I also like when he gets erased the first time. He says,
"All right, wise guy, where am I?"
Like, this is all very well. This doesn't hurt. Like, I'm fine. What's the plan here?
Yeah.
Then, draw him in like navy clothes, and then draw the ocean under him. So then he falls into the ocean, and there's an island in the distance. He swims to the island, but it doesn't zoom in. It doesn't follow him. He's like, I would give me a close up, and then it just like shrinks in the iris to just him.
Hey, come here. Come here. Give me a close-up. A close-up. This is a close-up. A close-up, you jerk. A close-up.
And a curtain falls on him, and he's like trying to hold it up. Yeah, he's given a stick.
Now look, Buster. Let's have an understanding. Now what? Brother, what a way to run a railroad.
That's something I think a lot. And, just all of it coming down on him is just very clever. It's like there's barely any like character to the curtain except that it's just a blob that is just like encompassing him slowly.
Yeah, this is great.
He's like, all right, forget it. I'm just going to do a little dance for you guys. Sorry you had to suffer through this. And then the film gets out of sync so that there's two Daffys on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets mad at the other one.
What are you doing down there? Down here? What are you doing up there? Down here. Listen, bud, if you wasn't me, I'd smack you right in the puss. Don't let that bother you, Jack.
This may be a more successful and interesting examination of what Mickey 17 spent 2.5 hours trying to do.
That is what I wrote. Mickey 17 wishes. He's like, if you weren't me, I'd smack you right in the puss. I think it's sad because puss is such a funny word for somebody's face. And now our culture, everybody says pussy so much that you can't say puss without it meaning that. But, you got a puss on, sourpuss, all of that is funny and great. But it's like, no.
At the end of all this, it is revealed that the animator is Bugs Bunny. Mm-hmm. It pulls back and you see Bugs, the animation cell Bugs just sitting at presumably a real Warner Brothers animator's table.
Ain't I a stinker?
Now, I know you said that you didn't want to talk anymore about video games.
Yeah.
But I would be remiss not to say that, although you did not get this far, I think I mentioned this on the episode, Bugs Bunny Rabbit Rampage, the overarching plot of that is sort of an inversion of this that makes me think it's supposed to be a response to Duck Amuck. Because the final boss of that is Daffy, and you realize that he's in the animation studio fucking with Bugs. And that's why, the stages are weird and keep changing. And, so that's all Daffy's revenge on Bugs, basically.
Right, but there is a cartoon, too, that is, this is happening to Bugs, but Elmer's drawing it. I think it might be called Rabbit Rampage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's not Elmer. It's not Elmer in the cartoon. It's Daffy. So I hadn't heard that there was a Rabbit Rampage cartoon. Mm-hmm. Rabbit Rampage, not a very good game. Watch me play it on Twitch or YouTube. I'm also Chris Togfer on YouTube, which is where my Twitch mirror is. If you want to be able to save all my Twitch videos so that Twitch doesn't delete them, they do that they treat you like a second-class citizen until you have a bunch of followers. So check out Chris Togfer. Chris Togfer. It's intuitive once you see it, but
saying it out loud does sound a little off.
ChristogPher on Twitch. Follow me there for more content, and it'll ultimately spur us to do more content on the Now We Know Pod Twitch as well.
So now I picked a Wile E. Coyote one, basically because of the Batman suit in it. This is called Gee Whiz. For no particular reason, I don't think there's any kind of whizzing. I guess him flying is the whizzing. Wile E. Coyote, the Roadrunner, he chases the Roadrunner to eat him. Yeah. And we open with the fake Latin names for each of them, Edius Birdius and Delicious. So canonically, scientifically, Roadrunner is delicious. So Wile E. Coyote is chasing him, then Roadrunner just, totally laps him. He gets a gun and he shoots at the Roadrunner, and the Roadrunner, outruns the bullet, such that the bullet itself gives up, and then Wile E. Coyote goes and picks it up, and it explodes in his hand, so I guess it was an explosive bullet. But a lot of this, you're like, isn't there another way for him to eat? He can order from catalogs. He clearly has a credit card of some description. Can he not order food to where he is? But once you see that there's something that's not only outrunning you to such an extent that it seems comical, but it can outrun a bullet. I can understand being like that being your white whale. That it's like this thing, I have to figure out if I can catch him in some way. Who cares about the food issue?
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to quickly note, have you seen Chuck Jones's rules about these cartoons?
Yes, I don't have it memorized, but I did enjoy it. But why don't you read it for the audience at home?
Sure. These are Chuck Jones's rules for the Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner cartoons. Simple but strict, allegedly here. The Roadrunner cannot harm the coyote, except by going beep beep. No outside force can harm the coyote, only his own ineptitude or the failure of Acme products. The coyote could stop any time, if he were not a fanatic. No dialogue ever, except beep beep. Although I would say that it's actually always, I think it's meep meep. I always heard meep meep more than beep.
Yeah.
The Roadrunner must stay on the road, otherwise, logically, he would not be called a Roadrunner. All action must be confined to the natural environment of the two characters, the Southwest American desert. All materials, tools, weapons, or mechanical contrivances must be obtained from the Acme Corporation. Whenever possible, gravity is the coyote's greatest enemy. The coyote is always, and this is the big one, he is always more humiliated than harmed by his failures.
Yeah, and he gets very harmed. So you can see how much humiliation we have to pack into each one.
Yeah, there's one here where he tries to rig up a bridge to blow up, and he has one of the little plunger boxes with TNT attached. He tries to push it down when the Roadrunner goes over the bridge, but it won't budge. He gets upset and starts stomping on it and pounding his fists on it. This is one that I remember seeing all the time as a kid. He just keeps trying, and then at some point his brain snaps, and he's like, it's not working. I need to go chase the Roadrunner on foot. So he just peels off and starts running over the bridge. And the second he turns away, the plunger just starts slowly dropping on its own.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect timing on this. The bridge blows up, and the poor coyote, he's been humiliated again.
All of this is so true to life that you're just like, I have worked so hard at this thing, and now it's going to betray me in the end. No matter how much effort or because of all the effort I put into it, it has come back to bite me. I only have a quick second to grab stuff from my room before I have to go. That means I will knock over everything. It will all take infinitely longer than if I had calmly, measuredly taken 30 seconds to do it all.
Yeah.
But he orders the Batman outfit from the catalog, and it does not look like the Batman that you know, sadly. But it's this weird green flight suit. And he he puts it on, jumps off a cliff, then, falls. You see him sticking his arms out, nothing's happening. Then you get a shot of just these very jagged rocks. And it's really just a tremendous moment because you're like, as it turns out, he does not hit them, but that shot is just all you need is a still shot of paintings of rocks, and it's a huge laugh moment.
Yeah.
And then he does manage to, fly away from it and kind of masters it for a bit, long enough to be outrun by the Roadrunner, and then fly, of course, into a cliff off camera.
And then the fabric part of his wings peel off when he hits the rock, and he's just basically flapping wires attached to his arms. Yeah. This one ends with him, much as it started, the first time you see him chasing the Roadrunner makes a quick hairpin turn, and then he just runs through the smoke left in the Roadrunner's wake.
Well, he's on a speeder bike at that point. It's a jet engine with handles on it. Yeah,
and he sails over the cliff. The jet bike thing is an Acme product, but it's working well enough that if he just kept the juice on, he would sail to safety. But he angrily turns it off, not realizing that he is suspended in midair. Then the Roadrunner waves to him and points down, and then he looks down, and that's the end of the game. Don't look down, folks. Don't look up, Adam McKay. Nay, I say don't look down. So, and then he starts falling. He pulls out a little sign that says, "How about ending this cartoon before I hit?" And they do, in an act of real charity to the coyote.
Yeah, I like that ending. I think that's a solid one.
Yeah. This is a good sort of proof of concept episode for the coyote. The one I remember the most, that I think I like the most, is the one that culminates with the series of increasingly complicated catapults that keep fucking up. You know the one I'm talking. I think that might be my favorite one. Yeah. But love this. Love the coyote. Apparently, as of now, there are, I believe, 49 Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons.
Wow.
Although some number of those were made, more in a more contemporary vein.
Right. Yeah.
So, but obviously the vast majority are the Chuck Jones ones.
So good for so long. You look at the cartoons that were done in the early 40s and then through to the 60s. It's like you just kept cranking out these really great cartoons, really good ideas, very clever and individual. I mean, the Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner, you could say that it's not clever and individual because it's like, oh, there's some dynamite or a rock falls on him or whatever. But like, no, the way that it's done each time is a new invention. Anyway, very impressive.
Yeah. You call them the Looney Tunes. I call them the Merry Melodies. Who's to say which of us is right?
Yeah. We don't say Merry Melodies anymore.
Yeah.
So
because we've all gone woke. The woke has taken away our merry melodies, and they replaced them with Looney Tunes.
So we also watched Transylvania 65000 and Bewitched Bunny. I'm going to skip those, even though they're two of my favorites, because I feel like we've covered most of these things. It's Bugs Bunny. He's doing a good job fucking with people. The first one has Dracula guy, Count Blood Count. That one is memorable for his use of abacadabra and hocus pocus to turn the Count into a bat or out of a bat, as is comedic and would benefit him and hurt said Count.
Yeah.
I loved all this. I thought these were way later. I thought these were like maybe even 70s, but this is just late 50s.
Yeah. I liked these ones too. You are right, though, that it is well-trod ground for us for this episode so far. But what we can't skip over is the final episode you had us watch, which is Little Boy Boo, which was the only Foghorn Leghorn we watched.
Yes.
This is a Foghorn Leghorn in which he's cold in his house. It's like, well, you got a house. You're doing okay. But he's like, I'm so cold and I'm poor. Maybe I should seduce a local widow for her money.
Coldest winter on way here. Feels like it's already here. Say now, that widow hen has a nice cozy little roost. Maybe I've been a bachelor too long.
There's the old widow woman. Maybe I should cozy up to her and drink of her love.
Oh, I'll say, would a hen. It reminded me, there was that documentary about people in an old folks community in Florida, and there was one guy who didn't pay all this crazy money to live there, but just like lived in his van around there, and at various points would clearly just like pick somebody to shack up with when he was tired of living in the van, and the nakedness of that arrangement is exactly what happens with Foghorn Leghorn here. I guess similarly, the guy by the end of the movie is like, yeah, I don't know, it's not working for me. It takes off, even though it's like all of my needs will be met, and I have no money. I live in my van, and I'm still like, I don't know, I don't see myself as settling down yet. I'm only 72.
Yeah, it's there's also a little Night of the Hunter energy to this one.
Yes, totally. Yeah, I made that joke before, but
I want to get with this widow for her money, but this damn kid,
yes,
this inscrutable child who's defying me at every turn.
Yeah.
Yes, the widow woman is like, well, I couldn't possibly marry you unless I knew you'd be a good father to my little boy, whose name is Egghead Jr.
Yes, he comes in and he's like,
here's the flowers and here's the candy. The courtship is now over.
Yeah, I was thinking, especially when he's dealing with Egghead Jr., you sort of see that it's a much more like, let's make a real character with more depth.
Yeah.
But this time, I could really see some of the connective tissue of, like, ways in which I think Hank Hill is kind of descended from some of the Foghorn Leghorn level, like, inability to understand or relate to this kid in any way. But he's also not being mean about it. He's being a little bit pig-headed and, like, overly assured that he will crack this nut just by being himself and catering to, like, stereotypical fun for boys.
Yeah.
But he never gets, like, angry at him exactly. Ultimately, he just gets kind of fed up and is almost tacitly acknowledging that he's not smart enough to deal with this kid. It's all these gags are very fun. He does say at one point, like, is that a boy? When he comes in.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel, they're not trying to do some sort of gender commentary. I think it's more just like, that doesn't look like anything I've ever. Is that a child?
Yeah.
What is that?
Right. It's a child that has the bearing of a like studious adult.
Hey, boy, come on over here. Let's have a look at you. This is a boy?
So he takes him out. He tries to teach him to play baseball. The kid has never seen a baseball. He just pops it in his mouth. He's like, "Oh, you've never seen a baseball?
Mightn't I have a chew, Mr. Leghorn?"
He says,
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Yeah, is this like a homophobia thing?
I don't think so. I just think that he genuinely means that is it.
Yeah.
Like, there's something off, and I will never relate to this type of boy.
This was the line that immediately made me think of Hank Hill. It was like, I feel like you could hear this in Mike Judge's voice. There's something a little about a boy who's never played baseball.
Yeah. So he, each time it's like, oh, the kid has no idea what's going on. Then the kid sits down and thinks about it, and like, we'll do some math, and somehow doing the math will teach him how to throw it like Tim Lincecum or something. He's using his whole body such that the ball goes flying through the bat when it's still on Foghorn's shoulder, and it goes through multiple trees behind him.
Yeah, he bests Foghorn at baseball. He then makes an aerodynamic paper airplane that takes off with, like, jet engines, spins around, and then guns Foghorn's shitty paper airplane out of the sky.
That was my favorite by far.
Comes to a perfect landing in front of a lightly flummoxed... That's the one where... The baseball one, he's still kind of like... After the kid throws the ball through his bat and several trees and scorches it, he's like, something here doesn't add up. And then the kid shows him his, like, fucking Pythagorean theorem of baseball. And he's like, okay, well, I see here it does actually add up.
There's something going on around here that just don't add up. Oh, yeah. I guess it does add up. Yeah.
Very quickly, he's like, I am out of my depth. This child is a menace because he's too smart.
Yeah.
I feel like the resignation of that really hits after his paper airplane is compromised to a permanent end by the kid's paper airplane. And then the hide and seek is the most haunting one. It's down. This is downright. This is Robert Blake in Lost Highway stuff, where he's hiding in the feed box. He's like,
the genius must have got his signals mixed. He's heading in the wrong direction.
And the kid starts digging a hole, and then he digs his shovel down and pulls it up, and Foghorn is sitting on top of the shovel. And he's like, what? His reaction here is genuinely like a little frightened. He's like, what are you doing? No, over there in the feed box.
But boy, over there, the box. I couldn't. Yeah, I know. Figures don't lie.
Then he goes over to the feed box to, like, peek in it to see what happened. He's like,
no, I better not look. I just might be in there.
Yeah, that's a very haunting line. It's like, no, I might be in there. If I open this, my understanding of the world might be shattered in a way I can never put back together. I'm a simple rooster. I don't want to see myself peering back at me inside that dumpster.
Yeah.
So,
and then there's a chemistry kit, which he's like, "Oh, it looks like you're making some sody pop." Then he puts his thumb over the end of the test tube and shakes it and says, "Watch it fizz." It blows up, of course.
Watch it fizz.
It's like the most basic. Everything else has been more complex than this. This one's like maybe should have been the starter joke, but the way that he says fizz was a winner for me.
Yeah. So then he goes back to the widow, and he's like, "Sorry, deal's off. I cannot be a father to Egghead Jr."
But you said you needed my love to keep you warm.
Madam, I don't need your love. I've got my bandages to keep me warm.
And you see he's just wrapped head to toe in various wraps and bandages from all the ways Egghead Jr. has inadvertently wounded him. Yeah, so this is a good one. I'm glad we got some Foghorn in here. You said that you didn't like Foghorn as a child. I've always liked Foghorn. So this was a triumphant return for me. I'm glad to hear that you've come around on him as an old man.
Yeah, he, when I was a real little kid, it just would bug me that, like this one specifically, I was like, I don't like the cut of this kid's jib, but I also don't like Foghorn Leghorn, so there was no one to root for. And then I got older, and he kind of reminded me of my mom's boyfriend. But now I see the charm of said horn, leg, and fog. Yeah. So this is what Looney Tunes is like. It's like this kind of. It's wacky, loony, good characters, good plotting, good animation, very brief. Shocked that each of these was like 6 or 7 minutes long. Some of them I remembered being 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, we just did this Looney Tunes movie for the Patreon feed. We both liked it all right, although there were a lot of people on the internet who, as we said in that episode, were praising it to the moon, I think because they have there's a certain ideological investment in there being good new Looney Tunes and good new 2D animation, and I think it was a little overblown. It's not as good as all that. And a big problem with it is you see a huge part of why these are so good is they are at most 7-minute quick hitters every second, and it's not cheap to produce.
Right.
So they're like in and out. We've got all these ideas. They're all going in. Bam, 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 out. Well animated. Charming characters, voiced by the mastermind behind these voices in many cases. Yeah. A crack team. Those people are all dead and gone. The original creative minds behind it. And now you can't... There's no purchase, no marketplace for a series of 7-minute cartoons. Like, I think Adventure Time on Cartoon Network, those were like 12 minutes, right? Like, those were pretty short, episode to episode. And I think that's probably... for contemporary animation, despite being very different, kind of the closest to Looney Tunes I've seen as an adult, or I do really like it as an adult, and it is that Spitfire funny thing. Yeah. But you're never going to get this feeling in a 90-minute movie. Right. It's not going to work. It can't work, and it shouldn't work.
That's not what it's for.
Yeah, it was nice to come back to this and be like, nope, still good. Because when you do a show like this, you're always wondering, is it still good, or was I just a kid? Right. I was just a dumb kid, so I like the things I liked when I was a dumb kid. Now I'm a grown-up, I don't like the new stuff for new dumb kids. But no, this is still good, still crisp. It really was that good, and that much, in terms of the people behind it and their creativity and their talents, lightning in a bottle... Even though that lightning was still bouncing around in that bottle for like 30 years. Yeah, yes. But it was lightning in a bottle because it was kind of tied up in like 3 to 4 people.
Right, yeah. Totally. And, I think it is that it was so expensive to actually animate. The whole process of drawing and painting each cell, however many a second that they were doing at the time. It looks pretty good, so it was quite a few. That was so expensive that you put everything into pre-production of storyboarding it out just so, getting the voice just right, getting all the writing just right. And so then when it gets made, it has, you're not going to waste all the money to animate this on just some tossed off shit. And now it's so easy to get it done. It's cheap. People will do CG for very cheap. Then you are not going to put as much effort into it in the first place. And so then you get what you get. And again, of course, it being so short is to its benefit. Yeah, I like Looney Tunes. It's good. It was like, oh shit, I could just turn this on basically any time, under any circumstances, with any group of people, and it's all good. It's there's a ton. Obviously, not all of them are the top tier ones, but just like the amount of them that are great is really astonishing.
Yeah, there are some racist ones.
Oh yeah. We did skip over a Pocahontas reference and stuff, but
yeah, and obviously the infamous Southern Fried Rabbit episode. If you're going to put these on for a group of people with contemporary sensibilities, just check on the internet and make sure it's not one of the racist ones.
Yeah.
But most of them are not. Most of them are good-natured fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, how do you think it impacted you watching Looney Tunes as a child?
I mean, absolutely, it did. I think it formed my sense of humor. It's funny to think of that because you're like, well, this is making me laugh, so my sense of humor already exists, right? And it's in keeping with this. But also, I hadn't thought these things before. I hadn't heard these jokes before. So it is also telling me what is funny. Maybe I just like laughing. Maybe I'm just laughing because other people are laughing, and then this becomes that. Anyway, who's to say? It's so wrapped up in my brain. It's impossible to know, but certainly I think the humor in these is great, was great then, great forever.
Would you show this to any children or future children in your charge?
Yes, I definitely think that I didn't show it enough to my daughter because I kind of, it was sort of played out. I had seen it so much, but now watching it, it's like, oh shit, these are top tier, top quality. Should show them to the grandbaby for sure.
What's the kid-friendliest bit of the ones we watched here today?
I guess I have to say that it was the Robin Hood Daffy stuff. The bill going up, it doesn't make any sense logically. It just is like deeply funny. Mm-hmm. I think that one is the one that seems like it hits the most childish note that it still is solid.
And when would your mom have walked in? Would it be when Bugs is like, I'm going to fuck this clockwork girl?
I think it would be one of the racist bits, but we didn't cover the ones that we watched that had any of those. So I know my mom was a big fan of What's Opera Doc, but if not for that, there's a feeling of like, oh, I'm watching this thing and they're all singing. I often say,
oh my God,
I don't
is
want
my
to
son
be
gay?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I often say that I don't like it. Well, I didn't like it as a kid, feeling like people were noticing that I was like, oh, I'm Robin Hood, and that's Maid Marian, and we're together, and we're in love. I didn't like that feeling, but even far worse than that would be if she walks in and Elmer Fudd has Bugs Bunny in his arms, and they're about to kiss, and she's like, are you feeling that way about this thing? Like, no, I'm not feeling that way about this one.
What would you say this says about society at the time?
We valued cleverness and humor and quality. We didn't value people that weren't white. We didn't value women. The lady that does Broomhilda's voice did a couple of voices, but it's mostly all Mel Blanc. There's not a lot of great lady parts in these. The ladies are sexy. If Bugs Bunny is a lady, it's funny. So I think it says a lot about society at the time, and the time was a very long stretch. But it also does say that, the things that we worked on hard and cared about and gave to children, and adults were so carefully considered and made when they were good that that is something that I think is lacking in most modern stuff. So it says a lot about attention to detail and caring about craft that is largely gone.
I'll tell you what else it says about society at the time. We were more comfortable just admitting this didn't come up so much in these episodes. Some places just have silly names, and it's perfectly fine to make fun of them forever because of that. Places like Walla Walla, Albuquerque, Pismo Beach. What happens at Pismo Beach? I don't fucking know. All I know about Pismo Beach is it's a place bugs might go.
Right. Cucamonga.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, good doing this one. A good time was had by all.
All right, that's about it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Our theme music is by Seth Milstein, aka No Rush. You can find him at norush85.bandcamp.com. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you can. Subscribe on Patreon at patreon.com/nowweknow, and you will get a episode every week of the year. 52 episodes a year. Talk to us on Twitter at NowWeKnowPod and Instagram and Twitch and who knows where all else. I want to say Substack, YouTube, right? Now We Know Pod, YouTube. We got it now.
That's right.
Want to be a part of the show? Call the Now We Know hotline at 415-349-3659 and leave a message.
So now we know, but what do we know?
Rose is displeased. What to do?
Brad's the executive plumber.
Does your kind ever think about love, Chuck?
Well, I ask him, but I don't think he'll be very keen. He's already got one, you see.
If I were the boy in the purple socks, I'd hang myself.
The heart of a pig.
Muffins are so simple.
Wonder where Doc and Dopey sleep.
There's something kind of about a boy that's never played baseball.
So now we know.
We know now.
Bye.
Bye.